What's up, folks, and welcome
You're
to this
sounding
week's
robotic.
episode of the Pilot Review Show. I am Captain Blade J52, and I'm joined this week by Teacher Kirby
Howdy, folks.
and our man with the RP, Artie.
Hey guys.
And this week we also have a special guest that we brought on the show for the console people, and this is Neela.
What up, all?
But anyway, we got some fun stuff to go over this week, so let's go ahead and get started with that. First and foremost, we're actually meeting on the inside of a Federation K-13. So, in case some of y'all are wondering what it kind of looks like in here, this is an example of that. But, anyways, we'll go ahead and begin with our Fleet Command Assault Cruiser. And yay, I fixed it so you guys can hopefully see it this week with the articles and everything. But, anyway, we have our Whiz Kids Star Trek Attack Wing Vizier. This is the Command Assault Cruiser T6, or our Tier 6 Command Sovereign. Can hopefully see some of the stats there as an example. Now, this is the one that comes with the Star Trek Attack Wing little model from WizKids, so you'll have to get that in order to get the code to obtain this ship.
Yes.
And quick thing, if y'all can hear
Yeah.
that on the stream, I don't know if you can or not, but a helicopter just flew over my house, so please ignore that because I do live close to a hospital. But anyway.
Ooh.
They
But yeah,
fly
so
in.
I was gonna say one of the issues with the that I've heard from people with this is some people say they go to the website and they put in their zip code or their postal code and they either can't find anything in their area that they can get to any stores in their area and it's not available online, or they say they find a few stores in their area, they call them all and they say they're out of them and they don't know when they'll be getting more. So, honestly, I'm not really sure what to do to see if the stores you call offer a list to order it, off them and they'll make sure it gets to you or something along those lines. Other than that, there's really not much you can do except contact the WizKids site and say, hey, I'm having a problem. I'd really like to get this, and see what they say from there.
Yeah, that is one of the big things. There have been some issues where availability of the actual ship itself, and by extension the code, has been an issue. I know there has been some stuff with that. If you're like me and you pre-ordered from a site, I would definitely consider checking in, make sure, hey, are you still going to get this and everything, just to be on the safe side and everything. But, yeah, definitely keep an eye out for that stuff. As far as the ship itself goes, I mean, it looks like a pretty decent upgrade as far as the ship overall goes, and it looks like looks like there's still the typo, considering this one the Intel. But, anyways, on the article, one thing that they forgot to correct is it's showing on the Universal Station the Intel for the Archon, but that is actually supposed to be a Lieutenant Commander Universal Command, so just keep that in mind when you read the article. But did they
Yeah, I was about to say that.
yeah, okay, they fixed it on the Fleet version, so that's good to know. But anyway, you can see the bridge officer layout. It's an Ensign Tactical, Lieutenant Commander Tactical, a Lieutenant Engineering, a Commander Engineering, and a Lieutenant Commander Universal Command. So, kind of a similar layout to the original T5U Regent, if you were somebody that had that ship. And then it's a 3 Tactical, 5 Engineering, 2 Science for the consoles layout and everything. And you get the Metreon Gas Warhead Launcher, which is pretty cool. And then tells about some of the passive bonuses that it gets and everything. But definitely some cool stuff to get if you're able to get your hands on the command ship. looks pretty decent to me. Then the Fleet version, you get a 4th tactical console whenever you upgrade to Fleet version. Now, one thing I will mention that some people have noticed is that when they're getting their command version, they're noticing that it does not grant a Fleet Ship module discount. Now, I personally am going to assume that this could be a bug. Again, don't quote me on that. I'm not 100% sure. But I've asked for a little bit of clarification on it just to be sure and everything, especially with all the shenanigans that's been going on and concern with the ship. So I am going to try to get an answer for you guys if that's supposed to be intentional. But anyways, it looks like a good ship overall. My pet peeve is with them putting the command on the Lieutenant Commander Universal, because that's pretty much the only space you're going to be able to get science abilities on the ship if you want it. So again, just my pet peeve with it. But what about some of you guys? What's some of your thoughts?
I would like to point out there's a typo at the very bottom where it says the item sets, where it tells you you got the cloaking devices and all that. It has found on command assault cruiser. It may need to be switched to being the Intel assault cruiser for the cloaking device.
Yeah, they might want to change that. But so
that's about it.
Yeah, please ignore the misspellings and the couple of typos you're going to find. But yeah, that should be definitely Intel assault cruiser. But
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with Darkblade here. The only place you're going to get a psi or any kind of science bridge officer abilities is in that lieutenant commander slot, that universal, and they're putting that as on the Archon as your intel, on the Vizier as your command, and it's the only place you're going to get either of those as well. So yeah, it's not my favorite setup that way, but it is doable. You can find some interesting variations with it, but yeah, the only way you're going to get Nisai is with the universal slot.
yeah, like I say, to me, it's still a great ship overall. That to me is just my only really major pet peeve with it. Is I would have rather that Ensign Tactical have been a universal. That way you could have at least one guaranteed science ability, and then if you wanted to, you could run the rest of the Lieutenant Commander Universal as, your specialist seating. But I understand why they did it. It's to keep it in the spirit of the Regent and the Sovereign itself. But again, just my personal pet peeve. But go ahead and take a look at the article for the Intel. Pretty much the same thing. Different, little bit slightly different stats on the stations, that type thing. We've got our incremental phase cloaking device, how it describes that just a little bit. Provides a passive boost to the tactical readiness and critical hit chance. And actually, because I actually have an Intel Sovereign, I can show you guys the stats on the console. But you should be able to see it there. It's a 1% critical chance boost, and then 50 Starship tactical, if I could words, readiness. And then it's an AoE taunt. Taunts up to 5 foes within 5 kilometers for 15 seconds. Gives you the immunity to all energy damage for 10 seconds. It cuts your energy damage in half for those 10 seconds, and then once that's up, you get, for 5 seconds, no collision, can't be targeted, you can't launch hangar ships for 5 seconds, your weapons are offline, and you're immune to all damage for 5 seconds as well. And you get a nice little stealth boost. So that's on a 2-minute recharge timer. It's pretty good as in oh crap I'm about to die button. So for those of you that are curious about the console, that's what it looks like there. And you could put that on any particular ship. One thing to be of note is it does come with the wide-angle quantum torpedo launchers. So if you've been wanting to get one of those to plink around with, or you're curious, then now's your chance to get a hold of one. But anyway, moving right along, we have our first set of patch notes for the 15th. Not a lot there, but I see one thing that I know is going to make Artie happy. Resolved an issue where the Aquarius wings would not be attached to the hull of the ship.
Finally!
And see, there you go, folks.
You should have heard him on the day that this came out.
I annoyed Darkblade every time he logged in and logged off of another character.
Oh, he did.
It was terrible. It was great.
As soon
He
as
totally did.
I know me and Kirby were actually sitting there when they posted this up, and we both just kind of like, yep, well, we know Artie's going to be happy, so that's a good thing there.
Yep.
And I have to admit, I wanted it fixed too, because that did kind of bug me a little bit. But
I bugged you every episode till this episode about
did.
it.
But yeah, so definitely thanks to the devs for getting that fixed. I know that's going to make a lot of people happy that actually like to fly their Aquarius and everything, but yeah.
Yep, now I gotta find another thing to bug you with.
And he will. Don't let him fool you, he will. But
Oh yeah, he'll find some.
not too much with those patch notes. I mean, two little things, two little known issues. Resolved a crash that would occasionally happen when UI windows were open too long. That's definitely a good thing, because, you know, less crashing, all that good stuff. But, anyway,
Yeah, I'm glad that's fixed too.
And we might as well hit the second set of patch notes since it's right there. But the other set of patch notes that we had on the 17th was resolved an issue that was causing uneasy allies to reward kit frames at epic quality. They will now be awarded at very rare quality, and existing kit frames will not be affected. And then the last note is old mail sent by the exchange to the player's mail inbox will be removed upon login. So
Yes.
that's a couple of things to keep in mind. I know I didn't actually know about the kit thing until some people were telling me about that. But any thoughts on any of the patch notes, guys?
Well, definitely the old mail thing. I definitely recommended to a few people to just empty out anything they got from the exchange, especially ones having items, because we weren't sure. This is very cryptic wording, no pun intended. And yeah, you see what I did there?
Totally intended.
And yeah, and so we weren't sure. So there was, from this wording, a possibility that if you have items sitting in your mailbox, you might end up losing them. It did turn out, and thank you for the quick response, devs, that I don't remember which dev did say that this did not include emails with items in them, and that was before the actual patch went out, so that was good to know. But you can never be too safe.
Indeed.
Agreed.
Yeah.
But yeah, like I say, not that much in terms of patch notes this week, and either set. We probably, if they're following the pattern, and if I'm betting money or energy credits, we'll probably have a lot more stuff this next week, perhaps. I know some of my Foundry people have been saying, you know, why is the Foundry still down? Keep in mind, guys, when they brought out the lighting update, that pretty much changed every single map in the game. So that's a major, major thing that they're having to go back through, make sure it works for the Foundry, and
Yep.
it's not going to have issues for you guys. So please be patient and bear with them as they get that fixed. I promise you guys the Foundry will probably come back. I doubt they're going to leave something that popular down for any longer than they absolutely have to.
Yep, very true.
It'll be 100% better, I'm sure.
Indeed. But moving right along, we have our console reputations. So for those of our console players out there, you've picked up quite a few, I believe, of the reputations, such as the Task Force Omega and the Iconian Resistance. These were two of the ones I know that weren't there. I've not really had a chance to play my console character in a while. I've been trying to work on her a little bit, but anyway, our guest star, if I could talk today, our guest Neela today is our main console guy, so we brought him on to talk about some of the changes that he's seeing and how a lot of that stuff's working and everything. But Neela, what's some of your thoughts on the reputations finally coming over and everything?
To be honest, I like how they're spreading it out. So it's not like, oh, here's all this, do it all. This way you can have a good chunk of it done when they release more. And now just getting infected space advanced, that's a lot more, like, I won't say hard, but I'll say more challenging in the fact that people still need to figure out what to do, but it's also fun in that you don't have everything dying super fast.
Indeed. I could see how that would be good. But as far as, because I know some people are going to be wondering about this too, as far as the interface options and stuff like that, does it seem to be pretty simplified, easy to understand versus the PC counterpart?
Yeah, it is. The only thing to like get into the reputations, it's a little bit more back end, like clicking. But other than that, it's actually a lot more simplified.
Okay. And then, I know you'd sent me some photos actually of some of this stuff beforehand. I'll show that to you guys. And this one is an example of some of the new fleet holdings and everything that we've got with the dilithium mine. You can see the interface there, how that's going. Then, let's see, this one is some of the duty officer assignments. You guys can see how that one's put together. But,
Hey,
then
wake
I
up.
believe this is the items. But,
And talking about the DOFs, I like the fact that they have it split up, like featured missions that are there for like a certain time, accommodations, the diplomacy science, all that, and then the new tab with the items. It's like, oh, I want DOF missions that have dill. It's like, oh, I want a DOF mission that has an item in it or something.
indeed. I mean, it looks fairly simplified. Everything is, I do say so myself. And we have our Admiralty stuff, or Admiralty, just to annoy Kirby. See, there it is. Yeah, and then you can
Detention.
see our crafting stuff that we've got there, and how that's laid out, which, and that's the final photo that he had sent me out of that set. But you can see pretty much how everything's set up as far as our interfaces go. It looks pretty simplified, looks, I would say, Trek-ish, if that makes sense. Don't really have a better word to describe it other than that. And the other big thing for our console players, if my Google Chrome will work with me today, is the Vaadwaur Lockbox. So for those people on console, you'll have your chance at the Vaadwaur Manasseh Assault Escort, the Tier 6. You can see the stats there. Then it comes with the Universal Console of Polaron Barrage Launcher. And then also the Vaadwaur Astika Heavy Battle Cruiser. So that's some good stuff for you guys there. And then The stick also comes with the Pythos fighter, I believe, and also for the miscellaneous starship, you'll have access to the APU T5 cruiser. Now, the APU is for the automated personnel units from the episode of Voyager with the Prelor and the Kravik factions that were fighting. But as far as the APU goes, you will be able to upgrade it with one of the techs to T5U. And it's actually a pretty nice little ship if you're looking for something to do on a budget. I would definitely recommend giving this one some thought. But,
it's also a pretty nice ship to do as a budget tank.
Absolutely. I've used the APU cruiser before on some of my tunes, and I have to say I actually like it. For a little secondary ship, it's actually not that bad. But, as far as the console goes, Neela, have you been seeing a lot of these Astikas or anything flying around yet? Or
Not really. I haven't even seen many just popping up from people getting it. Or from people opening the box.
I see.
Occasionally I see like 1 or 2. But that's
Okay.
not really major.
Okay.
Well, the thing to remember, and it was something that we saw on PC, is that the trait for the Astika or Astika is the supremacy, and supremacy is a very good trait for managing power levels. If you're trying to get DPS. So a lot of people were buying this ship if they were very DPS focused to level it up and get the trait, and then moving back to whatever their favorite ship was. So that may be some of what's going on the consoles.
That could be. Well, people just don't realize how good of a ship it is.
Yeah.
The big thing I've noticed with consoles, given I've not played it as much as Neela has, but the big thing that I'm noticing is, as far as their cycles with the lockbox ships, they've, from what I can tell, tend to... How can I word that? They tend to be sleeper hits, I guess you could say. You won't see a lot of them very early on, but as they get closer to the cycle, that to me is when I've been seeing a lot more. I know that's what happened with their Dominion lockbox with the Keldon and the Jem'Hadar ships. I didn't see too many of them as that particular box was actually in cycle, I guess you could say. But once it started to reach the end of that cycle, that's when I started to notice a lot of them hitting. So it seems to me like they're doing kind of the opposite of what we do on PC. With PC, we tend to, every couple minutes, we'll see them cracking off like hotcakes. Whereas with the console, that doesn't seem to happen till the near end of the cycle. Again, just my personal opinion on that. But
Yeah, I have noticed that too.
I wondered. But anyway, we'll have this stuff in the notes for you guys as well. So, lots of fun stuff there. But this week we have, for our budget build, this is actually another one that I did a while back. And I'll bring this into view for you guys. This is, if I could work this dang site.
Don't forget about the giveaway link.
Indeed.
Their Dark Blade.
Let's refresh the link here for the stuff that she was talking about. But yes.
This is an article, the USS Enterprise NCC 1701E giveaway. Unfortunately, this giveaway has concluded because it says, what does it say? Celebrating the release of the Vizier class and Archon assault cruiser with a brand new giveaway by simply retweeting or liking our latest tweet in the next 24 hours.
Oh,
And
that's
this was posted on November 16th.
So,
Damn.
a few days ago.
Yes.
Sadly, we missed that one. But hopefully if anybody out there is seeing this and everything later on, either now or perhaps once the local recording goes up and everything, if you're one of the lucky winners, let us know, because, we think that's cool and kind of like to hear from you a little bit.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Anyways, that was a cool little thing that they had there. I'm actually glad that they did that, because that's going to be,
Yes, I am.
Another method that maybe somebody can actually get a ship. But thanks for reminding me about that one, Kirby. I had just about forgot about it.
Not a problem.
But yeah, it happens more than you think, folks.
Okay.
I forget a lot of things. But anyway,
Yep.
now we can officially move on to our budget build. Now this one is another of the mid-range budgets that I did. Now, if you saw the last mid-range budget I talked about briefly on the show here, basically for the mid-range budgets I do, I assume that there's two things as far as resources-wise. I assume that you've got the ship somehow, or that you're going to buy the ship, either or, just however you want to say it. But, yeah, we forgot to do the link. That's on me. But anyway, for the budget builds, I assume that you have a maximum spending limit of 30 million energy credits. Maybe you sold a 10-pack of keys, you bought a few little odds and ends, or you've been saving up and you're at 30 million energy credits. We also assume that you have enough dilithium to get one item, maybe two, up to epic quality. Now this is one that I actually did a while back, but as far as what we have, this one I actually did a budget Polaron build. So we used the Dominion Polarons from one of the missions. So you've got the Dominion proc.
Curlin, dear.
Well, pretty much. But actually, this one came from the new Link mission. They changed that as far as the overall beam race.
Oh.
So you're going to get very intimate with fighting a changeling. And if you're somebody that has a lot of damage output, a lot of drones, fabrications, whatever to throw at him, probably not going to have very much of a hard time at all. It's not really that difficult. The only thing for me that was a real pain in the butt was some of the Jem'Hadar patrols. Mainly just due to their numbers. So you're going to want to run that 6 times to get these. They have the Polaron Drain and also the Tetrion Shield Drain. So that's what makes these so deadly. Then we have the Chronometric Polaron set. That comes from one of the future-proof missions. We've got the Beam Array in the front and the Omni Beam in the back. For our shields, our deflector, our engines, and those things, we have the Soul Defense Space set yet again. This one is one of my favorites as far as budget builds go, especially for tanking, because it gives a lot of damage resist and it also gives that major healing ability. Then as far as our warp core goes, I went with the Temporal Phase Overcharged Warp Core. The assumption is that people aren't really going to have access to the Temporal Negotiator unless they came in during that event, and this is more geared towards afterwards, I guess you could say, sort of. But if you have the Temporal Negotiator, then yay, you get 2 of those style of effects that's on the Warp Core. The one on the Warp Core and then the device itself. But the Overcharged Warp Core you actually get from the Butterfly mission, and the Soul Defense set you get from Midnight. Again, all of this is free stuff that you can do. You just gotta go shoot some Iconians, and you get to have fun with that. As far as devices go, I have a Subspace Field Modulator on here. As far as your devices go, I always tell people their personal preference, because your devices aren't necessary to always have, but they can provide some good bonuses for you. The Subspace Field Modulator comes from one of the missions in the Spectre's arc, so you get to run around to Rosanna and shoot stuff, and then you get this thing. But as far as our engineering consoles go, we have the Trillium Deplating from the Ragnarok mission that gave a little bit of damage resist across the board and some extra shield capacity. Then we have our assimilated module from our Borg Reputation, All you have to do is get your Omega Rep up to Tier 1 and you can unlock this console. And then we have a Plasmonic Leech for people, because thankfully with the Infinity Lockbox, it's gotten quite a bit cheaper and we can now actually start including some of these in budget builds. So that's a cool thing there. Then we have our Conductive RCS Accelerator. This one was just a plain Mark 12 that I used, but that'll give you some turn rate, some extra benefits to your shields for your science consoles. I believe I used lab consoles for this.
That's what it looks like, yeah.
Yep, the lab consoles. That, for whatever reason, they've not updated the icons yet, and that still confuses the living daylights out of me. But anyway, 3 of the DrainX ×2 consoles, so that's going to give a lot of drain to your Polarons, which is a big, big bonus. As far as tactical consoles go, we have 3 of the Polaron phase modulators. These are very rare Mark 12s that I picked up through some of the missions, and you could also say you picked up off the exchange through crafting. Then for the item that we took up to epic quality, the one that I wanted to upgrade this time was the chronometric capacitor. This is the other part of the chronometric Polaron set, and it gives some very nice bonuses at 14 epic. And overall, the other thing with the chronometric set that you get is you get the built-in damage booster that it can give. It buffs up your energy damage a little bit, I believe, and then I think it does a little bit of exotic as well, maybe? I don't remember the exact tooltip without having it in front of me.
It gives a little extra exotic particle generators.
Okay, that's what I'm thinking of.
Somewhere in the 20s.
Yeah. Like I say, I couldn't remember it hardly without having it in front of me, but anyway. Like I say, that's the equipment set with the ship itself and everything. But one thing I did notice, and this will probably scare Kirby a little bit, I actually have a Andromeda that I loaded down with Polarons. And this thing is coming in at just a hair under that ship in terms of the drain that it can put out. So,
wow,
that's some fun stuff there. As far as our skills go,
yes, it is.
It still uses that older build that I've put out for a while. You can see some of the lieutenant skills there. Then the lieutenant commander. I'll scroll down a little bit so you can see the rest of the skills. We have our commander and captain. As you can see from this, I don't use any of the ultimate abilities, although you're certainly capable of doing so if you want to. For me personally, for what I do, I don't like to use them because I feel I have to give up too much in order to actually pick up the abilities. But if you do want to use any of the ultimate abilities, the engineering, the science, the tactical, whichever one, by all means go for it. They're definitely nice abilities, they definitely have their uses, and are very fun to use. But again, that is just me personally. As far as specializations, I like to recommend Pilot and Strategist, with Pilot being the primary, Strategist secondary. This is more of the tanking perspective as to why I recommend those two together, mainly because of the Pilot immunities and stuff. But take a quick look at our bridge officers. For the Ferengi Decora, it has a Lieutenant Commander Tactical Station, an Ensign Tactical, an Engineering Commander Station, a Lieutenant Engineering, and then I have a Lieutenant Science Station as well. So, for a Ferengi Decora, I went with a Lieutenant, or on the Lieutenant Commander Station, I went with Tactical Team 1, Beamfire at Will 2, and Attack Pattern Omega 1. Now, I know some people like to use other attack patterns such as Beta or Delta, and that's perfectly fine. I just like to recommend the attack pattern Omega for a lot of my budget builds because, one, it gives you the immunity to tractor beams and everything, which can be a real pain if you don't have a lot of gear or a lot of damage yet to get away from those things. But if you wanted to, you could swap out the Omega for an attack pattern Beta. You could swap it in for another rank of Delta. pretty much you've got options, so don't limit yourself to just this. This is just what
Yeah.
I recommend as a starting point.
I think the biggest reason for beta, especially on a build where you only have 4 tactical slots, is because beta has a much shorter cooldown.
Indeed.
30 seconds versus the 1 minute 30 seconds of Omega. So that's,
Can see
you know,
that,
that's
yeah.
one thing to consider.
But
Yeah.
So, like I say, you've got options and everything. Omega, it's just one I've had success with, so that's what I recommend. For the Ensign Tactical, we have a Beam Fire at Will 1. That's so you can make more use out of your Fire at Will. If you don't want to use a duplicate, you could use a Chemosite 1 if you're able to get a hold of that on the cheap. They're actually going for not that much right now on the exchange. Last time I checked, about 2 million was some of the cheapest ones I saw. But, anyway, as far as our engineering goes, for allowing a bit more survival, on our commander station we have an engineering team 1, pretty much standard, because it gives you hull healing, all that fun stuff. Then we have a reverse shield polarity 1, allows us to recharge our shields. Then we have emergency to weapons 3. Now you will need an engineering officer to train this ability for you, or you will need to purchase it off of the exchange if you're not an engineering officer. But this one, pretty much self-explanatory, gives more power to your weapons, can even bring your weapons back online if they've been disabled. So, a lot of good stuff with that. It boosts your weapons. Not really a lot more needs to be said than that. Then, the last ability we have is the Warp Bubble 3 ability. This one is actually a mission reward that comes from the Delta Flight mission, and is a very nice thing to have if you're surrounded by a big group. You can throw the Warp Bubble and essentially cut their damage in half for about 20 seconds. So, very, very potent ability, very, very powerful, and has saved my butt many a times. Then finally we have a duplicate engineering team and directed energy modulation. The directed energy, I know a lot of people don't like to use it. In this instance, it's mainly to fill the slot, I'll admit that. But if you don't want that ability, you could swap it out for, you know, maybe a copy of Aux to Bat, if that's your thing, or perhaps an Aux to Structural. And then, again,
Aux to structural, or even a second emergency power to weapons.
I didn't even think of
If
that.
you don't have the duty officers to cool it down, it will give, with 2 copies, it does give 100% uptime, meaning that you do have the energy bonus, the straight up damage bonus that it gives 100% of the time with 2 copies. So, and if you have emergency weapon cycle, which a lot of DPS people do, I know it is another ship cost, but if you do happen to have that, it does give you the drain reduction 100% of the time.
Some very good information there from TeacherKirby. And then finally, our Lieutenant Science Station. This one, again, this is more speaking from the survival perspective of things. I went with a Hazard Emitters 1 and a Science Team 2. The Hazard Emitters, pretty much self-explanatory, heal over time, purges things like the plasma fire from Borg weaponry and so on. The Science Team allows you to remove science debuffs, which some of the enemies in the later missions do tend to use a lot of, and also gives you a nice little recharge to your shields as well. Now, it's not the strongest shield healing, no, but if you're looking for something in a pinch, then this is something you can consider. But as far as bridge officers go, that's what I've got. I don't think I put duty... Yep, I didn't put duty officers in here. I really need to start doing that. But really quickly for traits, where a lot of our EC got spent was on a Blade of Shell. That one is a very nice one for tanking. Then I have the Beam Barrage from the Beam School. I have Beam Training, Elusive, and then Fleet Coordinator. Then I have the Career Specific Last Ditch Effort for Tacticals. Then I have Give Your All from Engineering, which is a very nice little thing to have. Then I also have Operative, the Point Blank Shot, which comes from the House Peck mission, if I said that right. Probably butchered that. And then I also had Warp Theorist because the person this was originally put together for wanted to have a little bit of extra power. So, Warp Theorist not necessarily the best, but it's a nice little something to have. For Starship traits, we have the Improved Pedal to the Metal, which comes from the Pilot tree, and then we also have the Best Defense. For Space Rep, we have...
I would also...
Oh, go ahead.
I was going to say, I would also include on here, there's a little free DPS. If you put points into the command tree, you can get command frequency, which allows you to call your fleet support pets at any time, no longer when you're just 50% hull or less. It'll allow you to call them whenever you wish, and it'll reduce the cooldown if you get the improved version down to 5 minutes. If you pull these in at the right time in an ISA, for example, or an infected space, if you call these out when you're at that first transformer, getting ready to move over across the gate, a fed character can easily get 10k just out of their pets alone from that fleet support. So nice little trick.
It's pretty good stuff. I hadn't really considered that myself either, to be honest with you. Again, I'm not much of a pet person, but anyway, as far as our reputation goes, we have advanced targeting systems for the severity, the precision for the critical hit chance, and then I did the energy refrequencer for the healing that it gives you, which is actually quite a bit of healing, surprisingly, more than I thought it would be. Then we have the Aux Power Offensive. Now, I didn't fill in a 5th trait because since this is a budget build, I'm assuming you don't yet have these 5th slots unlocked. So that's why we don't have that there. The active reputations, I would say purely personal preference for whatever you want to have up there. So I pretty much went with all the space ones I had. Biomolecular Shield Generator, a nice little thing that's a damage reducer to your shields, all that stuff. Then Deploy Sensor Interference Platform, again, very nice. Quantum Singularity Manipulation boosts your science stats for a while and gives you that cloak while it's active. And then we have the Refracting Tetrion Cascade. Now
see, I'd almost wonder if the Sensor Interference Platform, if I might replace that with the Anti-Time Entanglement Singularity from the Temporal.
I was actually about to touch base on that. Now, bringing up Kirby's point, she does bring up a good point here. And the reason I actually have the interference platform there is because at the time this build was put together, we didn't have anti-time entanglement. Otherwise, I would have featured it on the ship. But as far as the deploy sensor interference platform goes, if you're in a pinch, it's still a good ability to have because you can throw that up, the enemies will get taunted to the platform, and that can buy you a few seconds to squeeze a heal off, to duck back so you can heal up a little bit. Maybe you want to try attacking another target. Whatever the reason is, it's still a nice little ability to have. But if you're looking for damage, then absolutely yes, that's the one I would recommend you swap out for anti-time entanglement. But
and here's another little neat trick. If you hit off your quantum singularity manipulation, it will give you plus 100 to all your science abilities, which do improve the anti-time entanglement. So you'll get a bit of extra out of it if you hit off the Romulan rep trait first, and then hit your anti-time entanglement.
Indeed. But that's pretty much all I have in terms of the budget build for this time around. But we're trying to get a variety of different ships in for the budget builds and everything. You know, such as science ships, tanks, DPS, the whole 9 yards, because we don't want to focus specifically on just one set way of building and everything. So
right.
I did want to kind of point that out to people. But anyways, looks like I'm up again with the Buggy corner, so a couple of quick ones this week. Now, this one, a few of the Xbox people are saying that the duty officers are locking up their consoles whenever they try to pull them up. Now, this one I can see happening. I've heard of stranger stuff happening. So if you're experiencing this, please let the devs know. Come onto the forums, put something up saying, hey, I'm seeing this too. This is what it's doing, and everything, so they can get that fixed. That is a very, very game-breaking thing, because duty officers are a very integral part of quite a few things in STO. Your crafting, some of your ship builds, and quite a few things. Then we have another person on PC that is reporting the inability to move a power from his list to his tray. So if you're seeing something like that, in this guy's case, it's from a 23rd century ability. I know that they have had issues with that before. So if you're seeing that, please, again, speak up, let them know, say, hey, this is what's happening. Because, again, that can be very game-breaking as well. Because, well, if you can't get it on the tray, kind of difficult to use it. And this next one is actually a little bit weirder. Some people are going to their banks, and they'll be looking through different stuff, and they'll see a blank spot where the item that was there is now blanked out, and it appears to be just a black box. They can tell there's an item there, they can pull up info from it and everything, but again, they can't see the icon or anything such as that. So, again, please let them know if that's happening. Now, I did have some information as well passed my way by a friend of mine about a possible recurring bug that has started up again. And this involves the Tier 6 Jem'Hadar carriers. If you'll remember recently, they had patched out the issue where the Jem'Hadar carrier wasn't able to use the frigate pets if you had a bug ship. So, if you're using a Tier 6 Jem'Hadar carrier, and that is still occurring with you, please let them know. That was supposed to have been fixed a while back. If it's happening again, then they're going to want to know. That way they can be sure that it's fixed and get something out for you guys. But as far as the bugs overall, like I say, definitely report these, especially for console players. I know you guys don't have a dedicated forum specifically for you guys yet, so just come on to the PC forums, put up your report, say, this is happening, and then just include something in the title, such as Xbox, and then whatever it is that's happening. That way they can get the info, get it reported. If you can do a step-by-step, well, first I log in under this patch number, and I do this, and this, and this, and it happens. And if you can get photos or a tape, that's even better. But anyway, that's some of that stuff as far as the bugs go. I am still working on some stuff for you guys as well behind the scenes that I can't really talk about at the moment. So definitely a lot going on as far as this stuff goes. But finally, we're coming up on Teacher's Corner with the Nossek weapon set. Take it away, Teacher Kirby.
Yes. So the Nossek weapon set is it's actually the latest free weapon set that came from the featured episodes Echoes of Light. And one thing I keep hearing and seeing from all over is it worth it? Should I put the Nossek set on my build? Over and over again, this is what we're hearing. So I figured I'd throw in my 2 cents on it. And it's actually, my 2 cents are kind of divided. Because, if you're on a high-end build, like many of my builds are high-end. For me, if you're on a high-end build, you do end up giving up a lot for it. The console is a dedicated science console. So you can't put it just anywhere, you have to put it in a science slot. That's tough for a high-end build. not so bad if you're, a budget build, but a high-ender does not want to give up a science slot. So getting the 3-piece, kind of hard for a high-ender. That and giving up a beam to a torpedo. Yeah, it's buffed by the energy, by the energy consoles, but still, the less of a firing rate, trust me, on a high-end build, you don't really usually want to do that. So, that the beam is okay, and it has the extra proc, but the other 2 pieces of the set just kind of, on a high-end build, just kind of bring it down. So if you're on a high-end build, you're trying to break, the higher end of the DPS charts, this set is probably not for you. However, for a budget build who doesn't have much else to go in these slots, go for it. It's going to be a very cheap way to boost your disruptor damage. It's going to be a cheap way to get your hull pen up. You know what I mean? So it's kind of a split decision here, where for most budget builds, it's fine. But for a high-end build that's trying to, get higher on the DPS charts, it's doing about 50, 75k, you're probably not going to want to put it on. So that's pretty much my 2 cents there.
So definitely check out her video and everything, and
Yeah.
she explains quite a bit of stuff there and does a good bit of
Yeah, I
testing and
explained
everything.
why.
For me personally,
Yep.
I've been using the beam and the console. I have noticed in my case, damage-wise, it has helped a bit. But at the same time, I had
Okay.
to sacrifice a threat console in order to get that on the Keldon. So there is a bit of a trade-off,
Exactly.
but so far it seems to be worth it for me. So as far as damage goes,
Yeah, I'm glad to hear
Yeah.
it was worth it.
it's definitely worth it for me anyway, as far as the tank side of things goes. But yeah, definitely check it out. As far as DPS wise, if you're going for pure numbers and everything, if you're going for more high end stuff like what Kirby's saying, got to agree with her there. You might not get as much out of this set if you're somebody that's maybe using a couple pieces, maybe. So I would say experiment with it yourself some and kind of go from there.
Yes. And I did want to make sure that I said this on air. Thank you, by the way, for the help with figuring out the 2-piece bonus. I had some trouble with that because I did my testing with no torpedo modifiers.
Yeah.
And I wasn't seeing the disruptor net at all. And I was like, what's going on?
Yeah, we should mention that.
So thank you
Yeah.
for pointing me in the right direction.
And you're welcome. We should mention, definitely, you want to have at least one torpedo modifier to get the disruptor net to work. That is one thing I will mention for you guys. Which I don't know if you
Yes.
mentioned that in the tape or not, but just wanted to say that as well.
I did.
Okay, good.
I did mention that, and I gave you credit for it.
Thank y'all. But anyway, so we're coming up on our final segment of the show, and this is the RP Corner with Artie, which tech and stuff. This should be interesting. Take it away, Sir Artie.
Okay, so a friend of mine saw last week's show and saw that me and Ain were talking about building a race, basically. So the question to me was, what about technology that they use, like specifically with what we used for the Amar last week as Ain's example? They use dark matter generators. Well, as an RPer, you have to use some stuff from the real world, obviously. So some of the stuff I've put together was that basically just having to do a quick study on what dark matter is. But I mean, I'll let you guys go through that little boring read on Wikipedia about what dark matter is yourselves, so I don't have to really go through that. But the whole gist of where I'm going with this is that a lot of stuff in RP, even if you just literally go off the wall with whatever explanation in it, whatever explanation you're going with, since it's Star Trek, the most unbelievable part of it is that it works. Is really how it works. Is really how it is. Personally, I had to literally study dark matter for trying to build a dark matter generator, basically for an in-game RP, and I had to do this in 10 minutes. How do you build a dark matter generator in 10 minutes? Well, really, all I had to do was go, all right, I scrounge up some uranium, I plug a battery to it, make it an electromagnet, and boom, done. Everyone was like, that won't work, but since it's RP and it's Star Trek, it's literally, it's hard to really explain without visual cues. I really wish I could take you guys on an event to see it, but it's really seeing how things get put together in the moment differs from seeing it like someone try to explain it via an article or something. Like, yeah, this is how this is put together, this is the mathematics behind it. It's the whole adventure, I guess you can say. And that's what my friend was really trying to ask me about, was really trying to find the niche a person can get by following some examples of technology for certain races and that sort of thing, trying to get in that way. So, I know I was really all over the place with this week's explanations of RP stuff, but I'll let you guys eat that up. So.
If it works, man, that's all that matters. But,
I know,
Yep.
right?
anyways,
But yeah.
I would say definitely check out the stuff on dark matter for our scientific minds out there. That is actually a pretty good read. But anyways, that's our final segment for this week. Hopefully you guys have found some information of use. You've enjoyed our show and everything. But maybe we'll have some more patch notes for you this next week. Maybe we won't. I'm not really sure what they're going to do as far as that stuff goes. But anyways, folks.
Personally, I don't see anything else broken.
Yeah, hopefully that. Hopefully that. But and maybe we'll get the Foundry back. Who knows? But anyways, folks, hope you've enjoyed everything this week. For now, this is the Pilot Review Show, and we're signing off.
Have a good night.
Catch you later.